Hi, the Times leader, Todd Griffin and Ty Englebright in studio this morning to talk about everything sports. It's the Sideline Report on your hometown radio station, WPKY, The Tiger. All right, and here we are at 9:04. We're just a minute late.
That's pretty good for us.
Better late than never.
A minute late's about on time for me.
That's exactly right. Welcome to the Sideline Report here on your hometown radio station, WPKY The Tiger. Todd Griffin of the Times Leader, sports editor, in studio. And we've got a special guest today joining us in studio as well, athletic director and head football coach at Caldwell County High School, David Barnes. And good to have you in studio with us today, Coach.
Glad to be here.
All right.
Been a while.
Yes, sir. It's good that we can all sit around the old table and talk sports today. And I'll let you guys take it.
Well, I was going to start off with some basketball, but do we need to go to football? Do you have some football news for us? Or
where are you going to start?
What kind of class are we going to be in? Have you made that decision yet? Are we going to be in 2A? Or are we going to do something crazy? What's happening?
The new classification came out. We got put back down to 2A from 3A. We've been in 3A the last couple of years, and our numbers, I guess, have dropped somewhat. And this new realignment put us at 2A, but we can request to play up to 3A. That decision has to be made by February the 9th, and we haven't turned that decision in yet, but it's probably would say, if we're leaning toward today, staying at 2A.
Is there a chance to play 4A? Could you petition that and then make an argument?
I'm assuming you could probably do that. I haven't looked at that really per se, but the 4A, if you look at the 4A, with Mayfield being the 2A bracket and then Beechwood coming back down to up into 2A, but if you look at 3A, you got Cal and DeSales in the playoffs coming out. So
3A is going to be tough.
3A is going to be real tough, and so right now it looks like we'll probably stay with 2A.
What does that do to the rest of your schedule when you have to make the changes for the new district?
The problem you have on scheduling is really a lot of times game week 10, because that cannot be a district game. So, Julian Taggart has put a thing where we cannot do anything on signing contracts yet until everything's lined out. So everybody's hopefully be on the same page when it comes to scheduling. We got Tree County sitting there that's in a district that we can move maybe that 10th game and give us a good 10th game there, and then, then Mayfield would fall in somewhere in that district schedule.
Well, it looks to me like you'd also have to add Ballard Memorial probably and Murray back on the schedule, and I think Fort Campbell would probably also be in our district, which they're already on the schedule. But
yeah, it's going to be the way you'll do the district, we'll all get together as a district, and there's a seating plan or a grid to go by on scheduling of that, so that'll be taken care of. It's picking up those other games that become spots where you don't have games. So we got to make a decision, or we're going to play Henderson, and do we move them out and try to pick somebody up in that spot? And in all likelihood, that's what we're going to probably end up doing.
Are there any teams that you're looking to maybe move off the schedule, like Christian County or Hopkinsville or Graves County or any of those?
Right now, we're probably depending on how what dates we can fill and where we can move people or move people out. I think for sure we're going to look at moving Henderson. We could Christian County. That's always been a pretty good deal for us, and if we can keep them on the schedule, we're probably going to do so. It's a close trip. I'd like to see if we can maybe get Marshall or Callaway or somebody like that on the schedule, and then our whole schedule would be all WKC teams.
Actually, the Henderson game has been pretty good to you, though.
Yeah, it has, and looking at down the road what they got coming and where that program's headed, I think it might be a good time to see if we can fill a different spot.
Well, and probably the same thing about Paducah Tillman. I think they're about to become really, really tough.
That's another thing in that 2A deal is, Tillman to me is a program that right on the low could explode at any point, and so they, to me, could be, are they going to be at Mayfield? Probably not, because Mayfield is Mayfield. And but when we look at Mayfield, we've been playing Mayfield the 10th game, and a lot of times you say, well, that game really wasn't matter in the district, and it doesn't. Now then it becomes a more meaningful game if you play them in the district.
I'm not sure that playing Mayfield earlier in the season isn't advantageous in some ways.
Yeah, and Mayfield still Mayfield.
Yeah, well, they are, and they're always going to be Mayfield.
But you want to play the best, don't you?
Yeah,
That's right.
Usually by that 10th game, though, they're on a roll. I mean, they've gotten to where they want to get to, and sometimes if you can catch them, a little bit earlier in the season, maybe you can catch them while they're still working on some things and can catch them on a night when they're not absolutely just rolling all over everybody at that point.
Right. But we've beaten them. I mean, they're
yeah.
I mean, so yeah, they're elite. There's no doubt about it. But
and it's been a great test.
It has
going into the playoffs. I think for us, if you can play with Mayfield, I think you can play with anybody.
You got that right.
I agree with that.
Well, what else is going on? I know the district tournament is actually coming up at home this year, so we have that going for us.
That'll start the week of February 19th, and that's President's Day. And we were originally out of school that day, but I think we're making that day up because of snow. We have our district AD meeting next Wednesday, I think, and that's when we'll set all the schedule on that. But I'm pretty sure since we're hosting, I think what we'll do is my suggestion is going to be we play 2 games on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, the finals of the girls on Thursday, and the final of the boys on Friday. We did that last year. I thought that turned out pretty good because if you play the girls finals on Thursday and then the boys that follow, the girls get kind of shoved off the court on the celebration of winning the district tournament. And hopefully give us two good gates as well.
That was always kind of a 7th district thing, I think, is, playing both championship games on the same night. So
yeah.
I guess that was a way that Caldwell County finally kind of put a stamp on the 7th district was splitting those championship games.
Well, I think it just works out better for everybody to be able to do it that way.
And lots of basketball changes coming up. Well, some changes to the schedule coming up. Homecoming, I believe, is February 6th, which is Tuesday.
The February 6th date is what I want. The main reason I came today wasn't to talk about football really per se, but on February the 6th, we're going to have Crittenden County boys will play at 6 o'clock. Okay. And then the follow will be the Union County girls playing our girls team. That's a change on the schedule. And we had to change homecoming twice, I think. So homecoming will be that night on Tuesday night when we play boys against Crittenden at 6, girls against Union County to follow. But also on that night, we're going to recognize Al Starnes at halftime of the Crittenden County game. One, Coach Starnes is retiring. He's retired as of now. And 2, he's been very instrumental in a lot of stuff with us in Caldwell County and getting things set up to help people out. And I think the big thing was this year is what he did for me and myself and my family at Crittenden at that game. And so we want to recognize Coach Starnes at halftime of the game on Tuesday night. It is a home game for us, and hopefully we can get a lot of his players here, get our players there, and show him how much we appreciate what he's done for us.
Yeah, that'll be good. And
yeah.
What's he been the head coach of Crittenden County for 30-something years?
I think 27.
27. I knew it was a long time.
Yeah.
Institution.
Pretty good run.
Yes, it is. And a fine gentleman.
Yeah.
And what he's done for that community and to do what he's done, he's always trying to help people out. We did the thing with our Special Olympics team, and all those kids got those jackets that year, and that was one of his ideas. And there's been a lot of good things coming about other than just playing football.
That's right.
Well, anything else going on football-wise? I know I saw Mitchell Harrelson tweeted the other night that he's going to the Junior Day at Kentucky later this month, and you said some Big Ten teams have been looking at him.
Last week Minnesota flew in here and took a look at him and left here very impressed with him. And but Minnesota went ahead and they did sign a kid the other day as a snapper. So, but what that did is it opened it up. Indiana came in the day before yesterday, so Indiana was also on that same kid. Mitchell's gone to a bunch of camps, snapping camps, of which a lot of these kids he knows that are those top snappers he knows them. So this was probably, I guess, one of the top ones that got offered by Minnesota and that got accepted. So, but it opens up other doors for Mitchell. And then he got a call from UK on the same night Indiana was here, and they wanted him to come up for a junior day. And Indiana wants him to come up there for a junior day, get his family up there to see. And, this been a big deal for Mitchell.
Oh, yeah.
Great opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
And, that's a specialty position, and he's darn good at it and
he's
showing off his skills.
Mitchell, and his benefit, he has worked his rear end off to get to where he's at. And that's something he took on, he and his family took on at an early age, and he's really worked on it.
Yeah.
Well, and you've got some other kids that I think should be getting offers at somewhere down the road that will be seniors this fall.
And, we got Trail and Jameer that should get some looks, and I think they're out there. Their names out there, and the thing with recruiting is people. The big schools are recruiting the United States. They're not just recruiting a small area.
Right.
And a lot of times we forget about that. And we think, well, why aren't they on these kids? But a lot of good football players out there, and you got to be on top of your game to get those Division I scholarships.
Well, and you had a few players this past season that were seniors that I thought might get some looks. And when you look at the All-State teams that came out, you had several players make those. So I'm not sure. I don't know if those kids want to play college football or want to do anything like that.
You take some of the schools that are in Kentucky. They didn't even take a Kentucky. If you look at who they signed this year, they didn't even take a Kentucky kid. Period.
Right.
And one of them are pretty close to us.
Yeah.
And, so that recruiting business is something it's hard, and you think you got a kid that might have that chance, and sometimes it doesn't happen.
It's good though when you see the all-state list, and I think for several years running now, there's been at least a couple of Caldwell County kids on there, and sometimes we've got 4 or 5 or 6.
Right.
So that says a whole lot when you're talking about it's not the Class 3A team or Class 2A team; it's an all-state team for everybody. So it's good to get that representation on there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But Mitchell's a prime example that hard work pays off, and that's his mantra. Hard work pays off, and he's worked very hard. And congratulations to that young man.
Anything else going on at the high school?
Senior night will be next Friday night.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Everybody's making a note.
So we're
making notes.
We got homecoming Tuesday night. We got senior night Friday night. I think who we got Friday night?
Trigg County.
Trigg County. Yep.
It's a girls and boys doubleheader.
And then on February the 13th, that Union County game, which was at home, has now been moved to Union County.
I'm sure everybody's happy about that. I was happy to find out about that.
Coach Cookie was not very happy about that one.
Well, I didn't understand exactly, but I think the last contract we went, or they came here, so we had a game snowed out at Union County earlier this year. Mm-hmm. So our home game now becomes Union County's home game because of the contract, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was on the 13th.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's all the changes on basketball as of right today.
Well, and there are some makeup games next week from the Hopkins County Central because all those district games have to be made up before
we have our meeting.
Right. So.
Yep.
And it's going to make a busy week next week. I think both teams play 4 times next week: Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and not always in the same place.
Oh, see, tonight we got Dawson right at Dawson.
I think that's next week.
And next week, and tomorrow night's Madisonville boys-girl doubleheader. And then we got Dawson boys on Monday night, which we're going to play a freshman JV varsity game that day.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And then Tuesday night, we've already gone over. Wednesday night, and Thursday, next Thursday, is that Dawson?
I've got Caldwell's girls at Hopkins Central Monday night.
That's correct.
At 6 o'clock. It's varsity only at 6 because Hopkins Central's boys are playing Webster County in the second game that night at 7:30.
That's correct.
And then Caldwell County's girls go to Dawson on Thursday, February 8th. That's varsity at 6 and JV at 7:30.
That's correct. And
then I think Dawson's playing all their varsity games first.
And our boys play Dawson on Monday.
Yes, and that will be here.
And it'll be here, a freshman, JV, and a varsity.
It's a lot to keep up with.
It is, and I'll get with you later on that, Tom.
All right, we'll run through that. We'll run through it again in a minute.
It is, but when you have snow, when you have different things shake up, you just have to adjust it and do the best you can. And these schools and all these athletic directors, kudos to them because they work well together to get these things in.
The last time we hosted a 7 district tournament, our last time it snowed. We had that big snow.
Oh.
Remember, we had snow all over the parking lot up there, and we had to really work
hard to get it off, didn't you? To get everybody safe.
We got it played. That's also the year that the regional was at Union County, and we had that big snow for a regional tournament.
Well, it just gets tough this time of year though because you've got 2 weeks left in the regular season. You've already got games scheduled those 2 weeks.
And then you're trying to make up games.
There's nowhere to put makeup games.
Yeah, it's like our Lyon County game with the girls. I don't know that we're going to be able to make that game up.
See, I hate to miss a Lyon County, Caldwell County game.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's classic.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the big
Big
rivalry.
rivalry,
and,
yeah.
It's a chance for one team to get another win on their
Sure.
schedule, and that's always good for everybody.
Of course. Of course.
But then you have the district tournament coming up, and once all that starts, there's not a whole lot of room to push things back because, the state tournament's going to start when the state tournament starts, and it doesn't matter if there's snow or anything. I don't remember them doing much postponing for that thing.
No, and it'll be here before we know it, too. So.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, always welcome to stop by, and you're
Good
welcome to
morning.
stick around while we're here today. You might have some input.
We haven't had our football banquet yet. But that's going to be at the end of February, and
Okay.
there's been so many things going on the weekends that, Saturday or Sunday is the best time to have it. There's everything going on,
Exactly.
so we're looking at toward the end of February, probably either the 21st or the 28th, somewhere around there, whatever that last date of. I don't know whether it'd be the 28th or not, but it'd be
Like a Saturday or a Sunday or
It'd be
something?
probably on a Sunday.
Yeah, the
like-
25th is a Sunday, and 25th is going to be that Sunday.
You guys should have the baseball team cater your football banquet.
Yeah.
They did a really good job
Yeah.
at the first pitch banquet the other night.
Yeah, you're right. So that's what I'm looking at there.
Okay.
And next Monday we'll start our strawberry sale, which is just contact the school, contact me, or one of the football
Get us
players on
information.
strawberries.
We'll help you with that, Coach, here at the Tiger, and get the word out.
And that's a big, good strawberries too.
Yeah, they are. Plant City, Florida, buddy.
That's right.
Best in the world.
That's all I got.
All right. Good
All
deal.
right. Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thank you
stopping
all.
by. You're welcome anytime. You're welcome to stick around. We don't want to chase you away.
I'll listen to you on radio.
All right. All right, Coach David Barnes, always welcome to our studio, and see you. Have a great day. And remember, you can text us here at the Tiger. We've got 963-9038. If you have anything you want Todd and I to cover besides what we're talking about, do give us a text. We're monitoring the text line at 270-963-9038.
How many snow blob texts have
I've
you
got
got?
quite a few snow blob entrants, believe it or not. Nicole, I got to give kudos to Nicole down at String Bean. I was down there the other day, and she goes, "Boy, we she climbed it, several years ago. They had a pile at the courthouse. She climbed it up and had like a flag, and she called it Mount Courthouse or something like that." So I said, "Well, let's have some fun with this." And she goes, "Okay." And so I told her about my texting deal, and so we've got to, if you want a little bit of moisture, you're starting to see the effects, but it's going to be 17 later on tonight, so it's going to be hanging around for a little bit.
It's not
so.
going to place anytime soon.
No, but 963-9038, if you have anything you want to text us about here at the Sideline Report, feel free to do so.
And bouncing back to basketball, disappointing losses the other night for the Caldwell County basketball teams
Yeah.
to Hopkins County Central. That's kind of been Caldwell County's rival. That's if Caldwell County has a rival in the 7th district. The big rivalry, I guess, is Madisonville and Hopkins Central because
Exactly.
same school system, same city, basically. I mean, almost. They've been together since Hopkins County Central became a school.
Yeah.
And Caldwell County just kind of got moved over into that district later. But if Caldwell County has developed a rivalry because of the competitive nature, it's probably with Hopkins Central.
Yes.
So that makes those two losses doubly difficult to take. But
they were great games.
Yeah.
And the girls got down a little bit and kind of came back, and they just barely, there at the end, got nipped by 3.
Well, the one thing you can count on when watching the Lady Tigers is it might not be always perfect. It might not always be pretty. They're going to play hard. They're going to play physical. They're not going to quit. They were down double figures, I think, a couple of times in that game,
yeah.
and kept battling back. And when it got to be a 2-point game late, you thought maybe they'd push on through and get over that hump, but just couldn't. And even at the very end, they're down 4 points. They cut it to 3. There's 2.3 seconds left. They come up with a steal on the inbounds pass.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, by then the clock's down to the point to where you really can't get a shot off. We needed the monitor. We needed, that instant replay where you go to the monitor and see if you could get a couple of tenths of seconds put back on to where you could actually get a shot off. But at point 1, you legally cannot get a shot off.
No, and I think we talked about that. Right as they were going to try to inbound it. What the odds are. People have tested that. You could maybe slap it some weird freak.
You can
thing,
only tip at that point.
Yeah.
Maybe your best option is to lob it toward the basket, try to tip it, hope you get a foul.
Yeah.
But really, there's no way to get 3 points in that situation because you can't inbounds it and shoot a 3-pointer, and that's the only way to get 3 points.
It's virtually impossible.
Yeah, you're just beat at that point.
But what about Peyton Young stroking those threes? Went
6
off.
of them, yeah. I think 4 of them were in the third quarter. That's that's kind of how they got back in the game.
Yeah, and of course, quality minutes from all those girls. I mean, you got Carson Park out there battling. Bella McConnell's about as tough as anybody out there. I mean, just grabbing stuff. J.C. Jaggers, I mean, she can get in a three-point groove, too, from time to time, always hustling. Boyd, I mean, they just, all of them, they play hard. You're going to get effort out there. I mean, Coach Thomas really has them the effort. It's just sometimes just come a little short.
Well, we've said it before. They actually play bigger than they are because it's a really short team and they get in there and try to battle. But when you play those teams that have the taller players, it's tough. And even the Tigers ran into that against Hopkins Central in the nightcap. And Hopkins Central's got a nice looking team and they've got some quick kids. They can handle the basketball. They can shoot the basketball. And that was a 2-point game early in the fourth quarter. And again, you thought, hey, the Tigers have the momentum. And, we talk about little things in sports. And Hopkins Central misses 2 free throws. You're thinking, hey, we've got the ball back with a chance to tie it or take the lead. Well, Hopkins Central grabs the rebound off the missed free throw, kicks it out,
and went off to the races,
and then it's like a 12-0 run, and the game's over. I mean, and it happened in a minute and a half.
Yeah, it did, and it almost like that fourth quarter. We were just they were stunned. I don't know what it just sort of just didn't pan out.
And maybe we got a little tired too.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe. Maybe
kind of playing with a short bench right now, and
yes.
When you get a game that's up and down, and I think that's what Hopkins Central wants is to get it go, and that's not really
fun to watch, though. I mean, it was very entertaining.
But if you're
Caldwell
County, I mean, you can't turn the ball over 26 times and beat anybody that's very good. And again, Hopkins County Central has a really nice team. We've talked about it before. There's 10 or 12 schools in the second region that all have nice teams.
Yeah.
So you can't really take a night off against anybody.
No, and then if you do have one of those quarters where you're lackadaisical or you're tired and you have a few turnovers, like I said, 26 times, it's tough to win with those many turnovers against a quality team.
And gave up 88 points. I think Hopkins Central scored 33 in the fourth quarter, and again, I think that was just Caldwell getting tired, and then you had to foul at the end to maybe try to get back in it, and just I think Hopkins Central was 26 of 30-something at the free throw line.
At one point during the game, and I kept hearing Bob and Eric talking about it, both teams were 100% from the line.
Oh, yeah.
For a long time.
Early in the
half,
game, both teams were making everything.
They were making everything. But, yeah, I mean, Hopkins Central, it was lights out at the line for them. And when you can do that, that's good fundamental basketball. So important. You're gonna win or be in most games if you're hitting all your free throws. There's just no doubt about it.
But I mean, let's look at it over the course of a season. You're going to have a night where things don't go your way, and I think both teams kind of had that against Hopkins County Central. And we knew the girls' game was about even going in, and it kind of played out that way. Yeah. We thought the guys' game was about even, and until that one little stretch in the fourth quarter, it was.
That's right.
The good thing is that they're district games, and if the weather holds, both Caldwell teams will get another shot at Hopkins Central.
That's right. So and I think both of them have come away with some valuable lessons learned, and I think they'll have coaches and players alike will have an idea of how we can maybe better match up and and play against them. So that's a good thing.
And just looking at the schedule again coming up, I will actually be at Lyon County tonight. They host Fort Campbell for a girls and boys doubleheader, and I believe it's senior night at Lyon County tonight.
Yeah.
So, good chance for the Lady Lions and Lions to honor their seniors and maybe get a couple of wins there, which, would be a big night for Lyon County. And then on Friday night, it's a Caldwell County doubleheader at Madisonville North Hopkins. Girls play first at 6, followed by the boys game. And again, I think that girls game is a toss-up. I think all these district games this year on the girls' side are toss-ups. And the boys they're going to have their hands full,
especially over there.
Madisonville is really tough. Like we've mentioned here before, if somebody's going to break up the 8th District monopoly on the second region championship this year, it might be that Madisonville team. So the Tigers will have to play well. And then you go into next week, and again, just a busy week. Starting Monday, Caldwell County's boys will be at home against Dawson Springs. As Coach Barnes mentioned earlier, that's now freshman JV varsity. I'm assuming the JV will start at 5 o'clock, so that'll push the JV back just a hair and maybe the varsity back just a hair. The same night, Caldwell's girls are at Hopkins County Central. That's varsity only at 6 because the Central boys will play Webster County the second game that night. So I hope you're out there whoever's listening,
Yeah.
take notes.
Yeah.
February 6th, Tuesday, is going to be homecoming for Caldwell County. You got the boys against Crittenden County at 6 o'clock. The girls play Union County in the late game, probably around 8 o'clock after homecoming. And Coach Barnes said they'll honor Coach Starnes.
Coach Starnes, yeah, that's important. And Todd, and I don't mean to break your momentum here, but can you remember a homecoming or a time where we had a split team homecoming like that?
No, I really can't remember that. And, it's probably one of those deals that's happened before and you just forget it. But actually, I kept asking when homecoming was going to be, and the date kind of bounced around a little bit. So it's interesting. You don't usually have homecoming on Tuesday, but you know what? We went to Trigg County last Tuesday.
They had
homecoming.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. You have to get it in there someplace, and there's not always a Friday or a Saturday to try to get that in. And one of the reasons is because, the schedules have gotten a little, different, I guess, from what we were accustomed to. When we were in school, it seemed like the girls played Monday and Thursday. The guys played Tuesday and Friday. You'd have an occasional doubleheader, but that was pretty much what was going on.
Yeah.
Well, then they come up with, because of Title IX, which, overall is a good thing, but when you start scheduling and saying you have to have an equal number of prime dates, which I think are Friday, Saturday games, well, you end up with what Caldwell County has this year, a lot of Friday nights where you don't have anybody playing.
Yeah.
And then you have to move games around, and it becomes really difficult to put a schedule together that makes sense. You end up with one team playing a home game the same night that the other team is playing a road game, and that hurts your crowd for both teams. And it's just really not an ideal situation, but that's what schools, if you look at a school's basketball schedule and think that doesn't make sense, well, that's the reason sometimes that it doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
So kind of got off track there a little bit.
No, people need to know that stuff. That's good stuff, man. I didn't know that.
Tuesday,
I
February.
know a lot of stuff.
On February 6th, yes. I mean, you had to have the same number of Friday, Saturday games, basically.
There you go.
Tuesday's homecoming. Again, boys against Crittenden, girls against Union County. On Thursday, February 8th, the Caldwell County girls are at Dawson Springs. I think that's actually originally on the schedule that way. It's varsity at 6, though. Dawson Springs girls play their varsity games first, so if nothing's changed, it's varsity at 6, JV at 7:30. That same night, Thursday, February 8th, Caldwell's boys will make a date at Hopkins County Central. That's varsity only at 7:30 because Hopkins Central's girls will play Webster County at 6 o'clock that night.
Okay.
So that's not confusing at all.
No, not at all.
And then Friday, February 9th, both teams are at home against Trigg County at the Cab Gym. And again, as we just heard earlier,
that's senior night.
Senior night now. So that's a busy week. Both teams from Caldwell County playing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So you think there'll be some tired legs at the end of that week?
Yeah, tired legs and probably some tired media people
Yeah.
as well. But it's about the basketball. It's a fun time of year.
Well, and it's tough to get to everything, but
it is tough to get to everything.
There may be some opportunities where on Thursday you could almost go to the Caldwell County girls varsity game at Dawson and then still have time to get over to Hopkins County Central for the boys varsity game because the girls varsity is at 6 at Dawson, and then the boys will play the late game at Hopkins County Central. So
that's it.
Depending on how big a fan you are, you can maybe make both.
Exactly.
It's not that long a trip from Dawson over to Hopkins County Central, so you got a chance there.
Yeah. Sounds
and like we said, with just 2 weeks left in the regular season, and man, it's going to be just jam-packed.
It'll be jam-packed, and it'll be interesting and fun to see how it all shakes out.
And then that last week of the regular season, Caldwell's girls have a trip to Ohio County.
Yep.
Caldwell's boys have a trip to Union County now in what was supposed to be a home game. And then both teams finish with doubleheaders at Todd County Central and at Livingston Central. So
yeah, that's that Todd County Central is a trip over there.
So that's going to be a heck of a 2-week sprint to get to the district tournament.
Yep. But never fear, Todd Griffin and the Times Leader will be there as well. We will be along the way as well from time to time, and between the both of us, we'll definitely have it covered.
And hopefully there will be a fan, a parent, or somebody out there, or a student who, when we can't be at one of these games, will hit us up on Twitter or whatever and say, hey, after one quarter, here's the score, because usually that happens. Usually somebody's pretty good about texting us or tweeting us, and
we encourage you to do that.
Absolutely, any updates we can get.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And try this new texting line that we have here. It's the same number, but you can text to 270-963-9038. If you got any questions or comments for us today, we'd be glad to take those at that number as well.
Well, time for our
we're
movie
halfway.
segment.
We are through it. That's unbelievable. Half hour flies. Our thanks to Coach Barnes for coming in and getting it straighted out. And it's good that you
was
asked
good information.
It was great information. It's good that you asked the football question. I mean, not
yeah.
official. It's official, but but they don't have to make their determination till the 9th.
I've been bugging him about that for a while, so it was good to get a pretty definitive answer.
It sounds like 2A.
Yeah, I thought that's what would end up happening. I mean,
I like it. I like it.
There are some interesting things about going 4A before we get to our top movie list, but the district would probably be easier overall. Travel-wise, and even
competitive-wise, yeah.
But, you run that risk if you get in 4A because the other district could end up being pretty good. You've got some Bowling Green schools in that, and you've got Franklin Simpson's, which is always pretty good. Allen County Scottsville has some good teams. So you run the risk of saying, hey, we're going to be smart and go 4A, and then you run into one of those good teams, and you lose early in the playoffs, and everybody's going to say, well, you know what? You did it to yourself.
You did it to yourself. You shot yourself in the foot. Oh, yeah.
So I think you're better off. In 2A, yes, Mayfield is the thing. I mean, it's Mayfield. But when you look at the other district and when you start looking at the playoffs, you probably have a better road to the regional final in Class 2A if you're Caldwell County.
Right.
You've got to get through Mayfield, but we've seen when you get to the regional championship game, somebody good is going to be there.
Everybody's good.
I mean, there's no easy trip to the state championship game. I mean, once you might get an easy first-round game here or there, but once you get past that in the playoffs, there's really good teams out there.
There are. And I really miss that Murray district game. I mean, we've had some wonderful back-and-forth battles with Murray.
That was the big 2A thing before. Murray has actually struggled a little bit recently.
Yeah, of course, Coach Duncan's gone off to Paducah-Tillman now. Yeah. That was the time when, especially when Elijah was here, we had those teams down there. I mean, there were some great back-and-forth, great regional finals with them and some great district games down there. So,
and Caldwell County has had good success in 3A.
They have.
I mean, when we got there, it was like, this is going to be tough. But
we really have.
We were concerned about Paducah-Tillman because Tillman is Tillman, and there's some mystique there, just like at Mayfield.
Strong tradition.
But Caldwell County is actually 3-0 against Tillman in this run in Class 3A. So the Tigers have more than held their own, I think.
No doubt about it, and it's been fun. But things change.
Oh yeah.
And but you know what? It just seems that 2A just seems right. We were there for so long,
Well, yeah, that's probably our class when you think about it, and. When you look at the All-A Classic, if we can talk about that a little bit, Caldwell County is on the very border of that. We just barely get under the line to play in the All-A Classic. Yeah. And actually one year, a few years back, we didn't make it. We were actually out of it for a year.
Because of our size.
Right. And back when it first started, it was a while before we got in because there were a lot more smaller schools back then. Even in the second region, you had West Hopkins, South Hopkins, Providence that were all in it, and that kind of pushed Caldwell out. The good thing, though, is if Caldwell gets out of the All-A Classic at some point in the future, it looks like there's going to be a 2A Classic that's being formed that Caldwell County can get in maybe somewhere down the road. So at least if you're not All-A Classic, maybe there's another option.
Another option.
So they're working on a 2A Classic. Maybe we'll see that start with basketball next season, and the people who are organizing that have even said they would like to go and maybe move it on to other sports at some point. And one of the things about the All-A Classic that's really good is they offer scholarships.
Okay.
They've been able to get sponsors in the past and provide scholarships to players and cheerleaders and all kinds of really good things.
That's a good deal. That's
something the 2A Classic, or whatever they're going to call it down the road, is going to try to look into and get going. So that's just a way that, the Kentucky High School Athletic Association is probably never going to vote to go to classes, at least not with the current people in place. So it's good to have some other options. It's almost like the schools are saying, well, if the
governing body
won't do it, we will do it.
We're going to do it ourselves. Yeah.
So sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands.
Sometimes you do. Well, good deal.
But you have options. If you're Caldwell County or other schools in a similar situation, you have some options now.
That's good. It's good to know. Well, I like it.
Okay, so we're down movie-wise now to our top 5 movies all time, and this is probably going to end
These are favorites, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is probably going to end our movies.
Probably going to end our movie series.
We'll move on to something else.
We'll have to come up with some new top 5s, which, got a couple ideas, but we'll see where it goes. I don't remember which one of us starts first.
I think you're up this week.
Okay.
I started last week.
All right, I'll go first. So
okay.
My number 5 is going to be Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I just can't get away from it. I love that movie. It's hilarious. I quote it, I think, every day. Nobody else gets it, but it's funny to me. So
hey, man.
That's my number 5 movie. It's we mentioned it once before when we were talking about the funniest movies ever. And
I have no comedies on my list.
Who hasn't, at one point in time, said, "Tell them Large Marge sent you"?
Oh, my God. Oh, I love it. I never would have thought that it would have made your top 5 movies.
It was
awesome.
tough. I mean,
that is tough.
I've got an honorable mention list I'm going to read later. That's really long.
I don't have any of those, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to my top 5. And my 5th one has made a list before, and it's Rocky.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's I just love the story about an underdog, not much self-worth there, and he figures out a way, and odds against him, and he doesn't win the fight.
Right. I was going to say, if you go back and remember the first Rocky movie, Rocky actually loses to Apollo Creed at the end.
But he was he made it in his mind, and he was and he was a success, and he knew, I think, then that he was right.
Well,
there.
Just going the distance was
that
winning.
was it. That's what it's all about, going the distance. Yeah. So that's my number 5.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
At number 4, I have another movie that we've talked about before, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Wow.
Because, I had to get a Star Trek movie on here someplace, and I like all of them just because I'm that geek that likes Star Trek. But
he's got his Spock ears on. No, he's on camera. He didn't have his Spock ears on today.
If I'd have thought about it, I would have found some. But
I've got some. I wear them in
Star Trek,
Dick's Sporting Goods and stuff.
Star Trek.
I do.
Star Trek II actually, in a way, saved the Star Trek franchise because Star Trek the Motion Picture came out, and of course all the Star Trek, the Trekkers all geeked out about it. But I think a lot of people think it was a pretty tame, should we even say boring movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked it, but it's Star Trek. But the franchise, I think, was teetering at that point. And if Star Trek II hadn't come along with Ricardo Montalban and a great story,
they nailed it,
and just everything. You look at all the series. I don't know if you ever have a Star Trek: The Next Generation if you don't have that.
The Wrath
movie.
of Khan. I think you make a good point.
And
there.
all those series afterward. I mean, Deep Space Nine and Enterprise, and even Discovery now. All those things. The whatever it is, 10 or 12 movies that have come since then. If Star Trek II had tanked, I don't think we see any of those movies or any of those series. So that's how big it was for that movie to score.
I think you're exactly right, and for them to bring Khan from the original series,
it was a great story,
and the play between Captain Kirk and Khan, it was just perfect.
And Star Trek Trekkers have argued for years over the quote unquote big mistake in the movie, which is Khan recognizing Chekhov early in the movie because Chekhov wasn't on the Enterprise during the original, so he couldn't have recognized Chekhov's face because Chekhov wasn't there. But the backstory is, hey, Chekhov just hadn't made it to the bridge yet. He was somewhere else. He and Khan got together,
and he saw him
had some tea and coffee or whatever, and he remembered him that way. So just because it
Russian
wasn't on the
vodka.
show, it happened off screen.
All right, that's awesome. That's a good choice, Todd, and I'm impressed. I mean, but I can tell you, except for Rocky, no movies that I've discussed.
Really?
That's only one. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So my number 4 is a classic.
Okay.
Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, that is.
And, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I love Rhett Butler. I get to cuss on the radio by saying that line. No.
Well, see, I left Inglourious Bastards off my list just because of that. I didn't think I could say that.
Oh, yeah, you can say it. You're talking about a movie, and it's the Howard Stern rule.
Okay.
But yeah, Vivian Leigh, Clark Gable, a cast of others, Olivia de Havilland. I mean, the guy Ashley was the guy that played. What was that? I know I'm thinking Errol Flynn, but anyway, that's for its time, 1938 when it came out, 39. Those Selznick, and all that production company. That thing was cutting edge, and what a great story it is. Margaret Mitchell's novel of the Old South coming to life on the big screen.
Well, and kind of the same era as The Wizard of Oz,
Exactly.
where you think it's the 1930s, but then you look at these movies they put on the screen, and they're just like epic masterpieces.
Of course, Turner ended up coloring them later.
Yeah,
but yeah, they're. So yeah, that's up there. But that's just number 4. So,
all right, number 3.
Yeah,
Planet of the Apes, the 1968 movie with Charlton Heston.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a great movie. I think it's underrated as a movie.
I agree, boy. I wish that one should be on my list. It's not though.
I mean,
it's
excellent. Just the twist at the end.
First time I saw it, my eyes got big. I mean, I sort of knew. You sort of thought it was coming, but you just weren't sure.
Yeah,
and then
you thought it was Earth, but nobody ever actually said that, and maybe there were some signs. Now that you go back and look at it again, hey, maybe there were some things you should pick up on, but no, I didn't see that coming either. At the end, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, and what a Roddy McDowell. And I forget the one who played the lady doctor, but
Kim Hunter.
Kim, yeah, that's right, classic. And of course, what's the main professor?
Dr. Zayas.
Dr. Zayas.
Yeah.
I don't know who played Dr. Zayas. He's a classic actor too, though.
Now you're getting to the point.
Yeah, but anyway, that's fantastic. I wish that one was on my list. It should be on there. It is not. My number 3 is Charlton Heston. Ben-Hur.
Wow.
I
really like that pick, by the way.
I like the old Ben-Hur, not the new Ben-Hur. I've seen the new Ben-Hur. It wasn't bad, but
I haven't seen the. Well, when you say the old one, you mean the 1959, and not the 1920 whatever.
Yeah, not that
because
one.
that's
right. There was one before there. I forgot about that. Yeah, because it's a classic story, and I forget who the name, but yeah, this production of Ben-Hur, the 1959 with Charlton Heston. I watch it. It's a great movie.
Yes,
I watch it all the time.
It's one of my favorite movies, as you'll find out later.
Okay.
Hope I didn't just spoil anything.
Uh-oh. And y'all, and be sure to text us if you want to chime in here. 963-9038, 270-963-9038. I'm monitoring the text line here, so if you got something you want to say about our movies or add something, just let us know. Go ahead.
Okay, my number 2 is Star Wars. And in my notes I wrote, it's freaking Star Wars. And actually, I'm not sure that Empire Strikes Back isn't a better movie. I'm not sure that Rogue One isn't a better Star Wars movie.
Right.
But Star Wars started it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. That's the one we all remember. That's, when everyone was younger, Star Wars came out, and that started the whole thing. So that's where I've got my number 2.
Should be on my list, and I debated putting it on there.
See, I thought it would be.
It's not. And it should be because I'm a huge fan, and it really my whole childhood, but it's not. My number 2, I'm an old rock and roller. I watch this movie every year when I'm fluffing my Christmas tree. It's just something awesome about it. I can watch it over and over. It's the same old songs. Martin Scorsese documented in 1976 at Winterland in San Francisco the band's last concert performance. And they invited all these people, all these great artists to perform with them. It's called The Last Waltz. And
I haven't seen that one. I'll have to check it out.
It is. When you first watch it, it says, "Turn it up loud." But wonderful musicians. Of course, the band was basically it was a band that they hung out up in Woodstock, New York, and Tin Pan Alley back in the late '60s. They basically backed Bob Dylan, and that's how they kind of became the band.
Yeah.
But they kind of went out on their own. Robbie Robertson was lead guitarist, a Canadian. Levon Helm was their drummer. I can name them all. Rick Danko, Garth Hudson. But it's beautifully documented movie. Their last performance, 1976, Thanksgiving Day. But just love the movie, love the music, and it's called The Last Waltz. That's number 2.
Okay, my number 1 is the greatest movie ever, Ben-Hur from 1959. It's epic. I mean, it's like they took 8 different great movies and put them all together to make one great movie. It won 11 Oscars. It's got Charlton Heston.
I still cry every time I see it at the end. I do.
Well,
I shed a tear.
it's
I do.
like
I can't.
it's like an emotional at the very end. I mean,
I tell you what,
it's almost like a spiritual thing.
There's no doubt. I'm chilled up thinking about it. Every time I watch it, I chill up, and I do. It brings me to tears every time.
But you could take the chariot race scene out of that movie, and it's better than a lot of movies. Just that scene. I mean, but it's just such an epic adventure. It's like a throwback, you know. I mean, they just don't make movies like this anymore.
And every minute of it, if it's a long movie, I mean, there's an intermission. I mean, it's never slow and boring. I don't think there's a part in there for me that's slow and boring.
For a 3.5-hour movie, I mean,
you can turn around, the afternoon's gone, but it's great.
And it's like everyone in the movie knew they were making a great movie because everybody's performance is like just spot on. Mm-hmm. It's like everybody knew, hey, we got to get this one right because this is great. Yeah. So I've got Ben-Hur at number 1, which
I can't argue with it. It's my number 3, and it's right up there. It could easily be my number 1. For those, a lot of my good friends know this. And I don't know why. I saw this movie in the early 80s. It's after a book. The Right Stuff.
Oh, wow.
Is my favorite movie. And I know there's several people that know that know me well, but I love the story. I mean, it was kind of quirky in some parts of it. It's a long movie as well, but I really love the story. I mean, of the astronauts, the Mercury 7 especially, but then also how some of the greatest test pilots of our time, like General Chuck Yeager, some of the civilian pilots of that time, when they were racing to break the sound barrier, didn't even get a shot at being an astronaut because they either weren't college educated, their attitudes weren't as such. You know, a lot of times, these guys were the cockiest, the best out there, and they just didn't fit the mold that NASA had when they were trying. But don't get me wrong, the guys that they chose were awesome too. So it's a great story. There's a book out there, and obviously, but the movie couldn't do it justice. You get and there's some little quirks in it, but it was an all-star. It had a great cast in it. So, Scott Glenn was in it.
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid was in it. Just a bunch of people. Jeff Goldblum had little parts in it. I mean, it's just a great. But it tells the story basically of the Mercury astronaut program and sort of the times, and it's called The Right Stuff. So
that's a great list.
Yeah, I like my list. Yeah. Your list is good too. I mean, it's easy,
I had some.
Let's throw about your honorable mentions. I didn't throw any of those on there, but I might concur.
I had to leave these off, and I just hate it that I had to. The Great Escape is one of my favorite movies.
Steve McQueen.
Ever. Yes, and everybody is in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back, it's like The Longest Day. I mean, it takes forever to list who all's in it because pretty much everybody in Hollywood, it seems like, is in the movie. Yeah. Glory. If you've ever seen that. Yeah. Oh, man, I love that movie.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Bridge on the River Kwai.
Yeah.
And I think my list probably reads like, do you remember when Spike TV first started and they had their movies for guys who like movies?
Yep.
I think that's my list.
No, I think I'm on board so far with everything.
But I got some other ones like Up.
That's fantastic.
I don't know how you can watch Up and not want to cry at some point unless you don't have a heart.
Animated, Pixar kind of thing, Disney, but it's great.
And then the Blues Brothers, we mentioned before how great that movie is.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
There you go.
The Godfather, Goodfellas.
Yeah, I mean.
And then we didn't mention the Lord of the Rings movies in anything.
Or Harry Potter.
Yes, and watched all of those. Of course, I didn't mention Buckaroo Banzai, and I kind of feel bad about that, but it didn't make my list.
Or Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh yeah, and I could almost.
I think I might have some tots today.
If it was going to be. If it was going to be a list of movies we've watched the most, I would have had to put A Christmas Story on here someplace.
Of course.
Because it's like 3 or 4 times every holiday season.
Shoot your eye out, kid.
Yeah.
But, and, this is so fun, and you can't, but I like your list. Is there some more?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Of course.
Escape from New York.
Oh, yeah.
The Dark Knight.
Ooh.
Very underrated for a newer movie.
Yeah.
Very underrated, I think. And then The Terminator. I mean, would we have ever heard of Arnold Schwarzenegger without that?
What about Strange Brew? Bob and Doug
McKenzie? Yeah, I forgot about that. I don't know if it's on my greatest movies ever.
I tell you what, I forgot about our comedies. Airplane.
Oh yeah,
that's classic.
But you can just look at everything. I mean, there's all kinds of Saving Private Ryan has been on one of the TV channels like for the last month, and that's just a great movie. It's one of those movies that, you know, if you ever start watching it, you're going to sit there and watch the whole thing. So don't start watching it at midnight.
No, because you'll be up through the whole thing.
You'll be up at 3 o'clock still watching.
Beautifully done, and if you and I highly recommend. This was not a movie, but it's a HBO series. The story of the 101st Airborne Division in World War II, Band of Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg production. Awesome.
It's tough not to have a Tom Hanks movie on the list someplace.
It really is. Yeah,
and
it
I'm
really
not,
is. Splash. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Apollo 13.
Great, yeah.
Yeah. And one of my favorite movies is 12 Monkeys. I think it's maybe Bruce Willis's best work. It's not Die Hard, but I mean, what is? I mean, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Maybe that's an argument we can have for the future.
I know that is an argument.
I didn't have Blazing Saddles on my list either.
No, and that's I mean, that's tough.
It set the standard for, in my opinion, for comedies.
No doubt about it. Mel Brooks is a
we
genius.
We could talk about that all day, though. I mean,
we got a few more minutes to talk about, but yeah, this has been fun. We're gonna get away from movies for a while.
We could have had a top 25, and we would have had to leave stuff out. So
I like our list, though, don't you?
Yeah,
I think they're pretty solid.
My first 2 or 3, I think, were pretty easy to come up with. It was picking 4 and 5 out of the 25 that was tough to finish the list.
Yeah, I mean, but I like your honorable mentions. I think you're spot on. Will Brown texted in and said right stuff, and he knows me well,
Wow.
and he knows that's one of my he knows that's close to my heart. So yep, you're exactly right, my man. At 9:55, what other sports news do we have? Of course, basketball is kind of confusing. You're just going to kind of have to watch the Times Leader, the schedule updates, and listen here at the Tiger. We'll try to keep it straight.
Yeah, there are some changes to the schedules that originally came out, so before you head to a game, make sure you check with somebody just to make sure that something hasn't changed. Going back to football, though, obviously Super Bowl Sunday is coming up.
That's right. I'm taking the Eagles, Todd.
I'm picking the Patriots.
Okay, I'm taking the Eagles. Yeah.
I'm not fired up enough either way to make many more comments, but
no, I don't even have cable TV. So
I don't even see anybody beating the Patriots.
I doubt I'll watch it, but. It's
good luck to the Eagles, though, because we mentioned our Patriot fatigue, and I would like for somebody else to win. But
I just got a feeling about them. I do. I just think they can do it. I hope so. And I'm not a huge Eagles fan, but what the heck?
But there's even bigger football news out there, as far as I'm concerned.
What's that?
And we heard it last week, the return of the XFL.
Oh yes. Yes, tell us about that.
So Vince McMahon has $100 million of his own money this time. It's not going to be affiliated with the WWE, although maybe it will be kind of on the side.
So he can control it.
Yeah, I mean it's basically going to be the franchises will all be owned by the XFL. So there's some good things with that because you can really set your rules and regulations and what you expect from players and coaches as a whole. And you can also control like salary things, where you don't have one rogue owner going out and paying crazy prices to run up, the league and kind of put you under financially. So
That's
you can
exciting.
Control the whole league, and he's promised faster games. I don't know how you're going to do that exactly. He said the goal was 2-hour games.
2-hour games.
That's going to be tough.
So it's going to be faster.
Even considering like no halftime. But I've actually got a theory on this. They haven't really set the rules or anything yet. If he wants faster games, they should do like the Canadian Football League and have 3 downs instead of 4. I think that speeds everything up.
I think that's right. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
You can play shorter quarters, I guess. He said no halftime. I don't know. It seems like if you're a football player, though, you kind of need a break there someplace.
What about the rule constraints as far as contact? I think that's going to be laxed, or I mean, there's safety of players to still.
He said one of the things that they were going to look into is player safety.
Yeah.
So instead of last time where it was like everything goes, this is actually going to try to be a legitimate, safe, entertaining football league.
That'd be interesting.
Now they're saying 8 teams across the country playing 10 games, so I'm assuming that means there'll be 2 4-team divisions because that means you play everybody in your division twice for 6 games, the 4 from the other once for 10 games, so that would make sense. 4 teams make the playoffs. Personally, I'm hoping they fix the catch rule because the
Yeah,
NFL drives
yeah,
me nuts.
I still don't know it.
I
I
saw a
don't
game
know.
earlier. I think it was a Titans game where the ball hits the ground and the receiver drags it for like 5 yards, and they call it a catch. I'm like, it's on the ground. So I think the catch rule should be, was that a catch?
Yeah.
And if everybody says yes, that's the catch. That's the rule. I mean, how hard is that?
It's a catch.
We all know somebody either caught it or they didn't catch it.
Yeah.
You know, if it hits the ground,
and it can't hit the ground first.
no, if it hits the ground, you didn't catch it.
No.
I mean, that's part of the rule. And another crazy rule. This is me, and not theirs rule. But
Okay,
it's
this
me.
is something you'd like to see.
For the
in
extra
excess-
points, yeah. I think you should have to drop kick extra points.
Yeah.
That would bring some excitement back.
I think it would bring some great excitement back. I really
And
do.
you know, they haven't mentioned any cities yet. Personally, I think if anybody deserves a pro football team, it's Cleveland. That's my joke. We need a laugh track.
Yeah, I was kind of like, okay.
Okay, but seriously,
The dog pound.
Yes. You know, St. Louis would be a good place.
I do.
San Antonio, I think, you know, would be a good place because San Antonio tried really hard to get the Raiders.
Right.
Then you look at Memphis and Birmingham. I think those two cities in the South are good football cities. I think they've been in every, you know, secondary league, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Every upstart league, whether it was the USFL or they were I think they were both in the XFL before. They were both in the World Football League.
I was wondering if they were going to go back to their original cities, or is this going to start from
I
scratch?
don't think so. I think they're going to start from scratch. Maybe the original cities. There might be some.
I don't really remember what they were.
Well, you had Memphis and.
I thought you had a Memphis team.
Birmingham, New York, Chicago, Orlando, San Francisco, Los Angeles. There's one more. Las Vegas.
That's pretty
Las Vegas
impressive.
was the other.
And of course, Vegas is getting the Raiders.
And Vegas had He Hate Me, I think.
I think that's right. He Hate Me. That's right.
Yeah.
That was the name of the player, wasn't it?
Rod Smart,
Rod
who had played at Western Kentucky,
Okay.
was in the XFL. So
Okay.
I think that was the 8 teams.
I don't doubt you a bit. I don't doubt you a bit. That's awesome.
So anyway, that's kind of interesting. I always
is
like the
interesting.
upstart leagues. I miss the USFL to this day.
That's classic, yeah.
I could go on a Trump rant because I think he's the one who kind of blew that up, or we'd still have spring football. So, and I'm kind of the opinion there's no such thing as too much sports. So I would be great with a football league that started in spring right after the Super Bowl. We just keep going.
Oh, I'm with you on that. Here's the other good thing. We got pitchers and catchers going to be reporting pretty soon, aren't they?
Spring training.
That's coming up, so that's going to be good. And, of course,
And there's always, in Major League Baseball, there's always that one guy who goes and has a tremendous spring and makes the big league club that nobody ever saw coming. And to me, that's the great thing about spring training is everybody's got a shot.
yeah.
You know, you might not be projected to be on the big league roster, but if you go set the world on fire in spring, they're going to find you a spot.
Yeah, they're going to find you a spot. That's awesome. No sport like it. And, of course, Emma Talley coming off a shortened Pure Silk LPGA, first LPGA tournament for her.
Made the cut.
Made the cut. And, it was tough conditions down there. Now, I think the Beckinsale, not Beckinsale, I'm thinking of models. Starts with a B, her last name. She's a Canadian. I think that won it was like -8.
Was it Brittany Lincecum that won it?
I don't know. Maybe she was, yeah.
Well, see, I only look at Emma's score a lot of
I
times.
do too. But anyway, I think -8 won it, and I think Emma in it finished with a +1. Is that right? For the
That's
tournament?
pretty good,
274,
though,
yeah. And it was tough conditions down there. Windy, I know they had to suspend
When it's
play
so
and
windy, the
shorten it up.
ball won't stay on the green. Yeah,
Yeah. So tough conditions, and I think a great start for Emma.
absolutely. And you know, she actually played in a couple of LPGA events.
She did, yeah.
Before becoming
Part of the tour,
right,
yeah.
but now she's actually an LPGA
Player.
professional.
That's exactly right. Yeah, she was on the Symetra Tour, which is this professional golf, women's golf tour, and then of course she's played in some elite, the ladies
she was
US
in the
Open,
US Open
yeah,
and-
British Open, ladies.
And I think she got a sponsor's exemption into maybe a tournament or two. So if I remember correctly, so
Yeah.
so she's kind of familiar, I
She's
think,
familiar,
with those people, and she's gonna be fine.
Yeah. But kudos to her, and the Lipscomb Bisons and Eli Pepper. They they were just up at NJIT in New Jersey. They came off with a win there. They had a double overtime win, and Eli's playing great, and grabbing lots of boards and
that double overtime win was crazy. I don't know if you got to catch any of that.
I did. I've been watching on ESPN.
I was going to watch the end of the game at work, and I ended up staying at work for an extra 2 hours because it kept going and going. It went to double overtime, and just a great game. It was 100 and something to
110.
Yeah,
something. Yeah, but
and I think Eli had 9 points and 10 rebounds in that game.
Yeah.
So
a couple, maybe a block shot or two.
Yeah,
so I mean,
a couple assists.
Yeah, and I started watching the NJIT game, and I think that's their next game against them. But they come back home to Allen Arena for NJIT. Comes back.
Okay.
So I think that's their next game coming up.
But Eli's playing really well.
He is, and they're good team and fun to keep track of.
The Bisons are going to be a difficult team for somebody to face. If they can get through the tournament, and there's some good teams in the A-Sun, but if they could get to the NCAA tournament, they're good enough to beat somebody.
Oh yeah,
especially if they shoot the ball well. They're going to be hard to handle.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. But it's fun to track the hometown folks out and about doing things, and
we almost have so much going on. It's difficult to keep up with everything.
Well, it is. There's a lot of folks out there doing different things. We apologize we don't mention one week. We'll try to. And if you're listening out there and your athlete or something's doing something great, and we don't, let Todd know, let me know, and we want to throw those names out there as many as we can and give them some recognition.
As we mentioned, I'm on Twitter at Todd Griffin 100. That's an easy way to get to me. My email address is at the top of every sports page or the sports front. So
Todd Griffin at timesleader.net.
Yes, pretty easy to remember.
And I'm ToddWPKY@gmail.com. And, of course, you can do our new texting line at 963-9038. Drop us a short blip if you need to. And always we want you to participate in our show here at WPKY The Tiger.
So, again, coming up, we've got Caldwell County Basketball Friday, a doubleheader at Madisonville North Hopkins.
Yeah, we'll have that on the air here.
Darian Boyd is closing in on 1,000 points. Yep. I think he's 26 away, either 26 or 24. I forgot to write that down coming in, but he's either at 974 or 976. I can't remember off the top of my head. So he's got a shot, Friday night to get there because he had 32 the other night against Hopkins County Central.
Had a great game. I mean, he was, he sure did. I knew he was pushing 30 points. So,
and then next week again the busy schedule. Monday, Caldwell's boys will host Dawson Springs at the Cab. That same night, Caldwell's girls are at Hopkins County Central, varsity only at 6. And then Tuesday is homecoming. Boys play Crittenden County at 6 o'clock. The girls will play Union County in the late game. So, again, follow us along on Twitter and read in the paper. I think I've got the schedule updated in everything in the newspaper.
Yeah, I think you're pretty close. I've got it here.
So at this point, the original schedule is, going to mislead you just a little bit. So just make sure you double check before you head to basketball.
Wednesday's paper will have the updates on the schedule.
Yes.
Pretty much as they need to be going forward at this point.
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Good deal. Well, we're a little bit over, but that's okay.
That's great. A good show today. Busy show.
I think it's a good show, and again, we encourage your participation, comments, and however you'd like to participate when we're on the air, 963-9038. You can text us before, during, and after, and always tune in on Thursdays at 9:03. It's the Sideline Report brought to you by the Times Leader, Todd Griffin, sports editor of the Times Leader, and do pick up the editions of Times Leader on Wednesday and Saturday. Stay informed of news in Caldwell County as well as sports, and of course keep your dial tuned to 103.3 FM, 1580 AM, WPKY on the Tiger.
Good deal.
So have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend, and we'll see you on the basketball court and at the gym.
We'll be at the gym, and we'll be at a lot of gyms for the next 2 weeks, it looks like.
You got it. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate
Thanks,
you being here. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Sideline Report, brought to you by the Times Leader here on your hometown radio station, 103.3 FM and 1580 AM WPKY, the Tiger. For Todd Griffin, Ty Engelbright, bidding you adieu on this Thursday. Join us next week at 9:03 for the Sideline Report on WPKY, the Tiger. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Sideline Report, brought to you by